Good day and welcome to the Penguin Review Show here on Rookery Radio, Real College Radio. On today's show, we'll be discussing romance novels. Most of us here in the studio are inexperienced in our knowledge of romance novels, but we do have someone joining us today who has read romance novels. So, Lexi, how are you?
Good, I think.
All right, good.
Whatever, still.
Also in the studio, I'm your host David, joined by Tom.
Hello.
And Jordan.
Hey.
So, romance novels. I've read like 0.5 romance novels in my day. I seen the Notebook movie, so that doesn't count. But Lexi, I'll start because when we were pitching the idea for the show, Lexi, you mentioned you read romance novels. So, what are some of your favorites, Lexi? And then we'll get into the meat and potatoes of romance novels after.
I know my favorite author is like Nora Roberts.
Okay.
Which is really a big one. I don't know if I think most of the romance I read is her.
Nora Roberts. I'm using the power of the internet.
Power of the internet.
To find out about Nora Roberts. Let's see what some of the things she's written. That's related books. Let's see, Nora Roberts. So what's her most recent book that you've read? Or what you've read most recently by her?
I don't know. I've been rereading stuff, so I'm not sure. I've been reading something else, and I can't remember.
Are you excited for The Liar? Came out actually yesterday.
Yes, actually.
Okay, that's her new book out on sale. Nora Roberts, Dance Upon the Air.
I own that.
You own that?
Yes.
Well, tell us a little bit about that. I'm on her website. She likes flowers. I see.
It's all very fancy. It's Dance Upon Air is so about a woman. I can't remember her name right now.
Mm-hmm.
And she is like running away. She faked her own death.
Yeah.
And she ran away to an island where it's like why can't I remember the plot to the story now?
That's okay.
Are they all mixing together?
A little bit.
It happens. It happens when you read a lot of a certain genre. Sometimes they do kind of blend together. You sort of see the patterns and things like that.
I mean, she does fall in love, but there's some. The thing I like about Nora Roberts is that it's not always just they fall in love. There's usually something else going on.
Yeah.
Like there's I think it's witchcraft in that.
Mm-hmm. Let's see.
And faking own deaths.
Huh.
Does Nora Roberts write about the same era a lot? And if so, which era is it? Does she focus a lot on the 1800s or the early 1900s, or does she write about today as well?
She mostly writes about today, I think.
Okay.
Or sometimes in like the earliest one I can remember is like set in the 80s.
She's been writing for a while.
Yeah, she's been writing for a long time, so.
She's got more than 209 romance novels, apparently.
Wow.
Yeah, she's the romance equivalent of Stephen King.
Okay.
To give anybody that's listening some sort of idea of how much she's written.
So, Dance Upon Air is about Nell Channing. She arrives on the Three Sisters Island. She believes that she's finally found refuge from the terrifying life she's fled so desperately 8 months ago. But just as she starts to think she'll be able to break free of her fear, she realizes that the island suffers under a terrible curse, one that can only be broken by the descendants of the Three Sisters, the witches who settled the island back in 1692. So yeah, witches and witchcraft. So it's not just like, oh, somebody pining over a dude.
Yeah, no,
it's like there's
like
other
that.
stuff going on. What so romance is a genre you primarily read?
Yeah.
What draws you to romance novels? Stuff like this, like Nora Roberts. I mean, what about him?
I don't know. I think it's just I like the idea that all these different people can fall in love and stuff like that. So.
How did you get into like Nora Roberts specifically? Was it like someone recommended it? You just liked like one of the covers? Sorry, Tom, for stealing your question.
I think it was one day I was just at the library and like usually I'd go to like the young adult section and instead I decided let's go to the adults. I'm an adult now. And I just picked up one of her books and I think somebody had told me her name before and I just read that and I was like hooked.
Okay.
What is it about her writing style? Does she have a specific type of technique that other authors in the romance genre don't use that makes you want to read her instead of them, or do you read a lot of different romance authors? She's just your favorite.
I read more than just her, so
Okay.
I don't know.
Does she have
Something.
Does she have a specific style like Nicholas Sparks?
I've read
Nicholas
him too.
Sparks. Nicholas Sparks is pretty much always the same exact characters.
Somebody always dies.
Somebody's always gonna die. There's always gonna be romance. It's usually gonna be some sort of complicated romance, unrequited love sometimes, and a lot of times there's an abusive relationship in Nicholas Sparks, and it's somebody running from that relationship. Yes,
I think so.
or like maybe
maybe
just
not
two of
always.
his books.
There's at least more than one because I've
Yeah.
watched a couple
More
of
than
his
one,
a
yes.
couple of his movies and they're like that.
Yeah,
Same
some of his
thing.
movies have been turned into drinking games. Quite a few, actually. So, have you read a lot of Nicholas Sparks as well?
Yes.
And do her novels kind of follow the same ideas again and again?
Kind of, but they're still like, I don't know. They're not like Nicholas Sparks is. You pretty much know someone's going to die, someone's going to fall in love, something's going to happen. That's not gonna. But Nora Roberts is kind of a little more. I don't know how to say it.
Well, Nicholas Sparks isn't going to include witchcraft.
No, he's not.
Speaking of Nora Roberts, she has a good quote talking about the romance genre. She sums up by saying, "They're books about the celebration of falling in love and emotion and commitment and all of those things we really want." I don't want commitment. I'm sorry. I'm non-commitment. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I think so. You can have witchcraft. You can have all these different elements going on, and the still basic foundation applies to that. So that's interesting. I've never read too many romance novels myself. Which one did I try to read? I think it was-
50 Shades of Grey.
No, I've read all
That's
that.
your
That's-
point
No.
5.
There you go. Now, does Danielle Steele write romance novels?
Yes.
I feel like
Yes.
she
Yeah.
does.
My
Yes.
grandma's favorite.
Yeah, I think you like throw a ball up into the air, and it'll land on some grandma's house who has a Danielle Steele novel lying around. Not to make fun of Danielle Steele, just
Or grandma's.
or grandmas. That's true. But she writes a lot of romance novels as well. It's one of those genres that there is I don't want to say overabundance. There's a lot of content there. Meaning there's a lot of books, a lot of romance books out there. But kind of good example, like even with like science fiction novels or things like that, you're trying to find like the good stories, the stories that will stick with you. So what is it specifically? What does the story have to have? Obviously there's the basic tenets of a romance novel, but what elements does it have to have included that it draws you in particularly after you've looked at the cover, maybe read the summary or something like that?
I don't know. I like the one. Like I usually like the ones that, there's like the love stories in them, but that have some other kind of problem conflict going on. Like there's the witchcraft, or sometimes there's like I've been reading murder mysteries with romance, and those are fun.
Yeah. So having like an outside element that kind of spices up the formula a little bit instead of the standard like guy gal meet or whatever
Yeah,
and fall in
nice.
love and the relationship conflict, other conflicts as well, pulling on that relationship,
Yeah.
making it. That's interesting. Because typically when I think romance, I have the uninformed assumption that it's just dude and chick pining over each other, and it's like, will they, won't they?
Yeah.
They will.
Yeah.
Or there's like the love triangle and the girl's like, oh, this guy or this guy for
Yeah.
100 and
The
some
young
pages.
adult relationship format. That
Yeah,
kind of
that
thing.
is very popular, the love triangle. Yeah, I don't know.
Always.
I don't know. So that's typically my perception of it, though. But it's an uninformed one, and I know I'm aware of it. You know what I mean? It's not like it's always one of those things like, yeah, this is typically what I get the vibe of, but I'm sure there's a lot more to it. And so when you have the basic tenets of the relationship dynamic, or two people trying to fall in love. I mean, I think that isn't something that's just specific to certain people. I mean, maybe if you're a nihilist, sure, that just you totally can't connect. But two people falling in love, or just the relationship and the love between two people, and it doesn't necessarily always have to be the standard formula, but having something there to mix it up could make it more interesting. I mean, I don't mind a love story every now and then. It's just as long as it's not too formulaic or too corny is the word I'll use. But
Too Sparksian.
Yeah. I haven't read any of his, actually I was going to say any of his work to, I've seen The Notebook. There we go. That's where it begins and ends. But yeah, having some outside elements to really draw upon makes it interesting. So you said murder mysteries. Which ones are you reading?
They're by Karen Rowe. That's like Scream for me.
Karen
or Die
Rowe?
For me. It's a Rose.
Rose.
Yeah, Karen Rowe.
Oh, rose, like
They're
a
part,
like a
they're
red
like part of
rose.
a series. Yeah, like the red, like the flower.
Okay, I'm thinking row your boat. Sorry.
Yeah, Karen Rose.
Rose your boat.
I just started reading her though.
Karen Rose. Let's check her out. Tom, did you? Oh, I thought you were about to say something.
I was thinking about this. It sounds like and we stigmatize. We were kind of laughing about romance in the Penguin Review Room, but it seems like we stigmatized it in the same way that horror is stigmatized and fantasy and even the young adult genre is stigmatized. And romance seems to get it even more than those.
Yeah.
Which I didn't think was possible, especially for young adult, which has been getting slammed lately.
Yeah. Well, as culturally, I think we're shifting to where those things on the fringe before, like fantasy and sci-fi, those are now the mainstream. I mean, they've moved into popular culture, and so romance, things like Twilight and those kinds of stories, those YA stories that do usually feature a love triangle.
They mix together.
Yeah, it's becoming stigmatized, and people are kind of like, oh, this, that, and the other. But I mean, I always say if it resonates with you and you like it and you enjoy it, I don't see the problem with it.
I think some of what the general, most likely uneducated opinion on romance, what it's based on is the fact that if you go into Walmart or a drugstore or something like that, you'll find
you will.
Most of the book paperbacks they have there would be in the romance genre. Now I don't know any of the authors to know if they're actually good writers and these are good books, or if they're kind of the ones that seem to come out all the time and you pick them up and go, this is a boring plot, this isn't well written. I don't know, I've never picked them up. But they do seem to be kind of everywhere, whereas other genres like sci-fi, fantasy, even some of the mystery and stuff like that tend to be more in bookstores and libraries and not everywhere else.
Yeah. Well, usually too when I see those, it's usually some guy who's super ripped with his jeans falling off.
Oh
and
yeah,
his cowboy
shirtless and yeah.
The Fabio of the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm always it's I'm definitely judging a book by its cover there.
Yeah.
And so it's just a perception thing, honestly. It is. And I'm looking at Karen Rose's website. She's got a lot of stuff here, and they all look to be crime related or have some kind of criminal element, which is cool. I always
Holy crap, that's a lot of books.
Yeah. I always like a good mystery story. Yeah, she's got a lot of that going on. And I think to go back to Nora Roberts, this kind of blending of other genres together. We're seeing that a lot lately. I think I was telling you, Tom, I was saying how the Daredevil Netflix show has a lot of noir elements in it. It was just a superhero comic for a while, but having those noir elements drawing upon other places to kind of spice it up, make it fresh, and make it interesting is cool. And I guess one of the things that romance novels has going against it right now is this kind of negative perception that it's just the same book a million times. But I think a lot of people, the argument can be made about everything, even though it wouldn't be a good argument. And that's one of, I guess, the things that has always held me back. So for someone who isn't necessarily, and by that I mean I don't read romance novels at all, what would be a good starting place for me?
Ooh.
Like, if I'm like, all right, time to jump in. I want to read a romance novel. Like, what would be a good place to start?
I don't know.
Obviously-
50 Shades is great.
Oh, yeah, there we
No.
go. Okay,
That's not a
obviously
good
you
place
need
to
to
start.
know a little bit about me, but
Right.
Um,
There's apparently, I looked up like the romance genre like just on like Wikipedia, and there's like sci-fi romance. It started in like the first one to be marketed by a mainstream romance publisher. Apparently, it's a novel called Sweet Starfire
Sweet
by-
Starfire.
by
Hold on.
Jane Ann Krentz. So I
I
mean,
know her.
What?
I read too much. I
there's
have
no
books by
such
her,
thing
too.
as reading too much.
Okay, Sweet Starfire.
Starfire.
All right,
I've
going
never
to
heard of this.
Amazon Books. Hold on. Ooh, Kindle version's like $5.
Hey.
Is this a wolf? Yeah, see, this is the thing here. See, if you initially said, "Hey, read this," oh crap, here goes the screen. You have guy with a six-pack, no shirt on, covered in oil, and then a wolf in the background, and I'm thinking, but this
Not
is a
all covers
sci-fi.
are like that.
No, of course not.
It claims that it's let's see, published in 1986 and was a classic road trip romance that just happened to be set in a separate galaxy.
See, what I've been noticing a lot, and what I've heard is taking off as a genre, is the whole dinosaur romance.
What?
I swear to God.
Oh yeah,
So
that is true.
I-
That is true.
I saw it on Amazon first, and then I went to Barnes & Noble, and there were these books with dinosaurs in relationships with men and in relationships with women.
Why?
And I swear to God. And I saw these, and that's part of how romance has become stigmatized for me. I was just like, wait a second, this is so messed up on every level. So there's dinosaur romances. Do you see romance elements crossing over to a lot of other genres, possibly those with dinosaurs?
I've never seen that.
Well, I mean,
thank
scared
God.
now.
Yeah, you're lucky
It almost seems
because
that
I have and I can't stop.
like any genre you read, or at least a lot of the books that I read, there's always like kind of like the romance is kind of there. There's always a romantic interest.
Yeah,
it's not the
absolutely.
main focus of the story, and some of them like for like series length ones, they don't even like really focus on like that relationship very much at all. It's just kind of like that person's there and you can see through their interactions like, oh, I could totally like, this is where like shipping comes in. Like, oh, I ship those two, they should get together eventually, but it doesn't actually anything happen till like book 4.
There is a strong
Here's-
allure for. No, go ahead, Tom.
Here's another one, and this is for the people that. This isn't for you, Lexi, but this is for the people that don't like romance as much. When you're reading the back of a book, the summary, or even the inside flap of a book, and it sounded really cool. Like, I saw this one, I think it was called The Night Circus or something, and it was about magicians. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to get this book, because it only cost $3, and I was super excited to get it, and they didn't have it at the library. Yes, this is going to be so good. And then I got to the last line, and it was something about how the two characters, the two rival magicians, fell in love. And I was, man, they had to go and ruin magic by making these two people fall in love. This is going to suck. I'm not reading it anymore. David and Jordan, do you ever have a problem like this?
Sometimes, here's the thing. When we talk about romance and relationships, it has to feel organic to me. If it feels forced, if it feels like it's just being ham-fisted in there just to have it, just as window dressing, like we also have this in the story, or this is also going on. We need more. Then it always kind of grinds against what I expected out of the story. But if it feels organic, it feels like this is a natural progression of the characters in the story, then I'm okay with it. But if not, I'm like, Like a good example, I read the Aragon books this summer, and he has this like crush on the one elven girl in the story, and is it gonna happen? And their relationship develops over the series of 4 books, and by the end, I won't spoil it, but it worked well with me. Like by the end, when I saw what the outcome was, I was concerned it was going to be kind of forced and corny, and I think that's when it starts to feel corny. It's like, it's forced. And it just doesn't sit right. This doesn't feel. It just feels unnecessary or silly. But I think another thing is we joke, and it is easy to make fun of romance, but there is this allure and appeal that crosses all genres. This establishment of human interaction, human connectivity on a romantic level, and I think the reason why it gets stigmatized so much, or at least one of the reasons, is romance is so heavily linked to sexuality, and sexuality is an uncomfortable topic. And when you talk about two people falling in love, there is that assumption attached to it. Whether it's an actual just sexual relationship or not is totally separate of the fact. But we link romance and sexuality so much; they seem so intertwined that when we do see, Sweet Starfire and, Dude McGee's got the six-pack and the oil, I think this is, like, sexually charged, and this isn't necessarily what I'm going for. I want more organic human interactions, but, again, you have to read the story.
Those poor dinosaurs.
Yeah, I don't know about that. That's just, again, I think every genre's got a weird subculture, and it's just like, ooh, okay.
I'm not part of that culture.
Yeah, no. But yeah, I think every genre's got a weird subculture that goes into it. And, hey, if you like what you like, if you're not hurting anybody or yourself, whatever, go for it. And it makes you happy, So, but on that note, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue the romance discussion here on the Penguin Review Show.
Yeah.
Only on Rookery Radio. Stay tuned.
Don't wanna do a thing. Feels like one of those days. I just don't wanna move. And it looks like rain, but I won't complain, 'cause it's just me and you. Yeah, I think I got a great idea. Sleep till noon and fall asleep again till 2. We got nowhere to be. No work today means no work or play, 'cause it's just you and me. Yeah, I think I got a great idea. So we can be alone. Yeah, I think I got a great idea. I think I got a great idea. All I wanna do is lay around with you all day.
going to college and earning a degree. Yet you need something to make yourself more competitive, more appealing to employers. Want to develop leadership during the summer? Looking for a paid leadership opportunity? The Marine Corps Officers Program might be the ideal situation for you. Unlike ROTC, all training takes place during the summer and will not affect your academic school year. Develop leadership, character, mental and physical toughness of what Inc. magazine describes as the best management training program in America. If you're interested in receiving more information, contact Captain Mick Negrone, the local Marine Corps Officer Selection Officer at 330-678-4290. That's 330-678-4290. The Marine Corps Officers Program. Kenny Ken here with Vapor Express, 5056 Youngstown Poland Road for all your vaping supplies. Haven't tried it yet? Visit the complimentary flavor bar with 50 amazing flavors. Come see what the fuss is all about. Youngstown Poland Road in the Subway Plaza. Make Vapor Express your one-stop source for your awesome selection of e-cigarettes, mods, and premium American-made e-liquids. Vapor Express, 5056 Youngstown Poland Road, Monday through Saturday, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. And at their new location, 4013 East Market Street, Warren, at the corner of North Road and East Market Street. Vapor Express.
What's up, y'all? This is Kat from Rookery Radio. Soleil Cafe is giving away crepes. Well, one free crepe a week for the entire semester to one of their loyal customers who tags and shares a picture of one of their delicious menu items. And one lucky customer at random will be chosen at the end of the month. They appreciate all of your business and are ready to serve you for the new year. Follow them on Instagram at soleilcafe.ysu or step in at 131 Lincoln Avenue behind Jimmy John's. Soleil Cafe is giving away free crepes to only one lucky customer. They are now open. Let them know you heard it right here on Rookery Radio.
Welcome back to the Penguin Review Show here on Rookery Radio, Real College Radio. Tune in tonight at 8 on the CW and watch Arrow. As Lance continues his mission to take down the Arrow, so Felicity orders Oliver to keep a low profile. However, when a metahuman named Jake Simmons, who kills people with blasts of energy and plasma, starts terrorizing Starling City, Oliver is forced to ask Ray for help. The unlikely duo is forced to team up to save the city. That's all tonight at 8. Only on the CW. I love the Arrow.
It sounds so good.
I can't wait. Can't wait. Seriously, I can't. I really like it. I really like Arrow.
Stephen Amell's playing Casey Jones. It's going to be so cool. Back to romance.
Yeah, romance.
This is the Penguin Review Show, guys.
Tom had some questions. I'm sliding out of view now. Go ahead, Tom.
Oh, yeah. So, do you read short romance stories? And, well, do short romance stories exist?
I think they do, but the ones I read that are like short are actually on an app called Wattpad, or a website called Wattpad, so I like read the stuff on there. I don't know if there's like short ones out there somewhere.
Like published?
Yeah,
like published outside.
I compared, since I compared Nora Roberts to Stephen King, I was wondering if she put out maybe a book of short romance stories or something like that, or if anybody else has even. Because that's popular in pretty much every other genre, is collections of short stories. And I was just wondering if those existed. Does anybody have a computer up?
I think they do.
Like, I Googled, and there's, like, a bunch of random websites, but, like, Wattpad showed up. Which, if you're a writer and you want to get feedback on your work, I always recommend there. I have a profile on there. None of my
do
work. None of my work is up, but I have a profile on there.
RomanticLoveMessages.com. I don't think this is right.
No,
No, these are just short love, like little, like I love you messages. Never mind. Sorry.
that doesn't sound right.
So, if not, I was wondering if it's all basically blogging and other like fan fiction. If somebody writes fan fiction based on Nora Roberts novels, that kind of thing. You were saying once though that you wrote a short story.
I write every time I write something, it ends up being a romance.
Cool.
Well, what kind of things do you write for your romance short stories?
Oh boy. The one I was just writing was, it had creatures who who were born from nature dying. There was a little bit of a love story in there somewhere.
So like maybe 64 million years ago after a meteor crashed to Earth, that kind of thing.
No, actually, it was set in
I'm gonna-
2013.
I'm gonna push everything on dinosaurs now.
No, they're not
Somebody-
dinosaurs.
Somebody can't wait for Jurassic World.
Dinosaur people.
I will not write that ever.
There's a website called East of the Web, and they have various different short story sections, but they do have a romance section. Joseph Conrad has a story. There's a story by Joseph Conrad up here. It's called Amy Foster. Is that Joseph Conrad or just someone who happens to be named Joseph Conrad?
I read The Heart of Darkness. I don't think that should be there.
Joseph Conrad's great grandchild.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But, yeah, it might be just some guy named Joseph Conrad. But anyways, it has a section. It's called eastoftheweb.com. They have short stories. It's got an index of romance stories. It even has ratings on there. It tells you how many pages they are and gives you a little short tidbit about the piece. So, I guess if you're interested in short romantic stories, East of the Web might not be a bad place to stop by. They have sci-fi, horror, humor, fiction, crime, children's, and nonfiction on there as well. So I've never been on the website myself. They have a top 20, all authors, classic stories, contemporary stories, things like that. And they even have subgenres, bless you. Contemporary romance, historical romance, fantasy, and gothic. So, I don't know. If you're listening, or for Lexi, if you're interested, East of the Web's got some stuff. I promise they're not like giving me money to say that. I just found this and it looks like a cool resource. Let me click on one of the stories, see what happens. No,
I would
that's
just
the
kind
person.
of be curious. I would think that
Oh, yeah,
romance
that's
short stories would have to be almost completely different than, or at least than good like romance novels, because you have a shorter space. So like, so if it's the whole like finding love and making it feel natural thing, I think that'd be really hard to do in the short story format.
Yeah,
I think you'd almost have to start in the middle of the
You would.
relationship.
Yeah.
you would. Yeah, yeah, you click on the title and it brings up, the page, and you can just scroll down and read. And if you like the story, you can share it on Facebook. The social media links are there as well. That's pretty cool. You can rate the story and view and add comments. There's comments. This is one of the great stories so far I read. So that's one of the comments on this particular piece I'm clicking through. So East of the Web, that doesn't seem like a bad place to start. You also, who were the authors you mentioned earlier, Lexi, for those listening?
Nora Roberts,
Nora
Karen
Roberts.
Rose.
Karen Rose, any others?
Danielle Steele.
I've never read her, so I don't know.
She's
don't know
got to
anything
be
about it.
somewhat.
I mean, she's popular.
yeah.
She's got a lot of books out.
Yeah.
So
she's
can't
got-
be
That's
too bad.
popular.
I guess Nicholas Sparks. I don't know. I haven't. I've seen The Notebook, which I've said like 5 times already. But
Yeah.
I like that movie.
who else? Anybody else? Any other recommendations you have, Lexi, for those who might be interested?
Wasn't that book was by Jane Ann Prince?
Mm-hmm.
I've read her too. She's pretty good.
Cool.
I'm not sure. I can't think of any in my head right now. I
Oh,
can go
it's a-
home
Yeah.
and I can
Did-
tell you 1,000.
Didn't Agatha Christie? Didn't she write some?
Did she? I don't know.
Let me call her real quick.
She's kind of
You know,
dead.
got her on.
Hey, hold on now. You don't know.
She's just a
What kind of magical
little
powers?
bit dead.
No, I'm kidding. But was gonna say, do you read a lot of romance on your? Do you have a Kindle or e-reader? I should ask that first.
I have a Kindle.
Do you read a
Yeah.
lot of romance novels on there? Because I get a bazillion ads every time I open my Kindle. There's always an ad by the lock
Yeah.
screen, and a lot of them are for romance novels. And it's like there are a lot of them that are being self-published.
Yeah.
But I was wondering if you go on there much.
Sometimes I do, but I don't really use it because I prefer having the book in my
Mhm.
hand. So.
There's a lot on there that, because I mean, with the ability to bypass the barrier of the publishing industry with self-publishing on Kindle, you get a lot of, I mean, again, there's the downside, a lot of really bad stories, or
Yeah.
it's like, oh yeah, pay $3 for 3 pages of a story. It's like, I need to get on that and make a killing anyways. It's like, but there are a lot of stories on there. I was just curious if my tape's coming off my thumb, but I was curious if there was any stories that you found on the Kindle or your e-reader that
Not yet.
not yet.
I haven't really read anything on there. I bought one actual published book on there,
Mhm.
which was by Nora Roberts because it was part of a series and I had to finish it.
Oh, okay.
But that was it.
Yeah.
So I haven't really found anything on the Kindle yet to read.
That's interesting.
Are there awards for romance novels?
That's a good question.
I'm assuming so.
I looked it up, and
Probably.
now my computer's being stupid. I have to relook it up. There's the Romance Writers of America, which I think is the main association thing that the romance writers do, and apparently they give a Rita Award, RITA, but I don't know what RITA stands for. It's in all caps, so it has to stand for something. But this Wikipedia is not very helpful on that. So there's that. Oh, it was named for the RWA's first president, Rita Clay Estrada. Okay, then why is it all capital? Whatever. So I don't know.
Yeah.
There's that award.
Which I have plenty of. I've won
Yeah.
that like 20 times. No, I'm kidding. That's cool. I mean, again, a lot of people scoff, a lot of people joke, and it is. I mean, at least for fellas like myself, it is easy to joke about romance as a genre, but it is a big genre. It's been around a long time, and it has a wide fan base, and so it's interesting that some of the information you've shared with us, Lexi, because I have well, again, besides the Notebook movie, no real frame of reference about romance novels or romance stories like that. I've just read stories that happen to have some kind of romance in them, and a lot of times they suck real bad. So, yeah. So I'd like to thank you for sharing that with us today. Some things to keep in mind that are coming up. April 17th and 19th, Michelle Hall, the doors open at 7 p.m., is Hack YSU, so you can learn to create your own network. That's pretty cool. 36 hours to create whatever you can think of. Software, hardware, business plan, design, art, anything. You can go check it out at hackYSU.com. So that's pretty cool. It's April 17th to the 19th. Michelle Hall, doors open at 7 p.m. Also, August 14th, 15th, and 16th in downtown Youngstown on East Federal between Market and Walnut is the annual Youngstown Spanish Heritage Festival. For more information, you can go to www.yshf.org or check them out on Facebook, YSHF on Facebook. So it's Youngstown's fifth annual Spanish Heritage Festival. So check that out as well. And also, grabbing the papers, April 18th is the AM Essays 5K Charity Run. The American Medical Student Association is holding a 5K charity run/walk to benefit Akron Children's Hospital. The event registration will begin at 8 a.m. on April 18th at the Watts Center, with the run beginning at 9 a.m. Pre-register at sjantisi.wix.com/5K for kids and then you have to pay $15 by April 10th, and you can get a free T-shirt. So it's pretty cool.
Also, I have a thing.
Yes.
Jenny Magazine, which is the online literary magazine done by the other student organization on campus, the Student Literary Arts Association. We're having our premiere party for our newest issue, which is issue 8, tomorrow night. It's from 6 to 8 downtown in like the Tyler History Center, which is on Federal Street, I believe. There'll be like food, raffle baskets, possibly a musical act, and then readings from the works that are being published. And then we're also going to have an open mic, so if you want to bring your own work and share it with us, that'd be cool.
Cool. All right, well, coming up later today on Rookery, we have Live with Brittany 1 to 3, The Brew Crew 3 to 5, The Timeout 5 to 7, Caribbean Swing tonight 7 to 9, and 9 to 11, The Mix with DJ Nanasty. And as always, you can go to rookeryradio.com for more of the awesome programming. All right, folks, well, that's all the time we have for today. We'll see you next week on the Penguin Review Show here on Rookery Radio, Real College Radio. Take care.